How's it going, everybody? Doing a drink review here today, and I'll be doing some Gamecube mic sounds, and rambling. I believe I had gotten a request for kind of a ramble with the Gamecube mic. I don't know if it was gum chewing related or not, but I'm not doing gum chewing in this one. I'm sure I'll do another gum chewing ramble with the Gamecube mic sounds. I just wasn't in the mood to do gum here for this one, for whatever reason. The drink I got here is Celsius Sparkling Live Fit Green Apple Cherry. Someone a while back had mentioned Celsius. I'm pretty sure I haven't done one, but I was in Pat's Marketplace, and they had a ton of these, and I was like, you know what? I think they were $2. It was $2 only at this one, but they had a couple other ones, so maybe I'll pick up another one from there at some point. But also I got asked about pouring the drink into a cup, so I will do this on this one. I might try to do this as much as possible going forward with any kind of drink that will generate a fizzy sound, because it actually has a pretty good sound. I know in the past I have done that with like liquid sounds. So let's see how this is. Admittedly, that is not a super strong fizzy sound, but you still get the pouring. A soda is going to do it stronger than this, but this will do it better than like if I had an iced tea or something. It wouldn't do it at all. They think this has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it, and a bunch of other crap it tells you it will do. Accelerates metabolism, burns body fat, essential energy. How true any of this stuff is anyone's guess, but it does smell pretty good. Doesn't taste as good as it smells. Yeah. I expected this to be good. I like a green apple. It's almost like a... I don't think that's the cherry getting in there and causing that, but it almost tastes like... This will sound weird, but almost like a rotten apple. Yeah, that's not that great. I still do want to try some of the other flavors, but that's not a good... It tastes weird. It tastes like a diet green apple, if you want something. It's weird, yeah. I expect it to be sweeter too. I'm not really even barely getting any cherry. Then again, I'm not the best person for this in terms of tastes. Yeah, a little disappointed in that. I will start the sounds up here in a second. I'll finish this and give this a score. Good old Gamecube mic. disappointing. I gotta go with 4.5 on this. I'm not digging this at all. I gotta start getting a little more tough with my reviews if I'm not digging something. It happens, not everybody's gonna like everything. Plenty of people probably like this, and plenty of people probably hate some of the shit I like, so it's just not. Obviously I can drink it. It's not like I'm like, oh, but it's just, I don't know, I expected this to be a lot better, to be honest with you, because I'm a fan of green apple. I've had like green apple hard ciders, like Airy Orchard, I'm pretty sure makes one. I think Mackenzie's might too. I forget what else. I don't know if I've ever had any. Have I ever had a green apple like non-alcoholic drink? I don't know. Yeah, it tastes like, it's not a sweet. It doesn't have like a strong green. It almost tastes like I don't know. I'll say a diet green apple, which technically I guess these kind of energy type drinks, because this has 200 milligrams of caffeine, so it's packing pretty good heat in a 12-ounce can too, because usually the energy drinks I get are 16. I don't know. Maybe it's this, I'm trying to think. It's got a bunch of shit in it. It's got vitamin B6, B12, calcium, vitamin C, riboflavin, biotin, pantothenic acid. Anytime I see acid, you're like, what? Great. Is it going to burn my insides or cause me to trip out? Yeah, it's just not great. Yeah, 4 or 5. Maybe I could sit here and say a 5, but I'm not feeling it. I will try one more of these, though, at some point before I leave. It's disappointing, though. I expected that to at least taste better than it did. Oh, wait, let me see. How does it work? Celsius proprietary MetaPlus formula, including green tea with EGCG, ginger, and guarana seed, turns on the thermogenesis, a process that boosts your body metabolic rate. Drinking Celsius prior to fitness activities helps energize, accelerate metabolism, burn body fat. Well, I walked to get this, and then I'm not doing fitness activities afterwards, so maybe I'll not get the benefit. I should have gotten it. I should have walked after I got it. Yeah. Not a fan. They had a orange one in there. They had some kind of berry, Arctic. I feel like I've seen that in other places. And they had it says this on top. No, it doesn't say it here. Maybe those are the names. There was one that was strawberry watermelon, maybe. There was another one, I forget what it was. Oh, fruit punch, I believe. I think there was one more. They actually have a lot of C4 in that place, too. I might get one of those there. I was hoping for Random Mountain Dew or something, but they just had the 3 big ones, regular, Code Red, and Voltage. Pat's Marketplace is good for desserts. Like, they have a really nice bakery section, pretty good deli section, stuff, a lot of prepared foods and stuff as well. That's where I did a video on, I'm pretty sure, the cannoli chip sandwiches, chip witches, whatever they call them. These things are fucking good, but probably shouldn't eat them often. I gotta install Reach. Give that a gameplay, probably try to film that this week, one of the nights. was asked, and I haven't responded to the comment yet. About, like, because I mentioned doing a hockey ramble or basketball ramble before the playoffs, but I think we might be in, like, in terms of using, like, printing out a sheet with I was asked this in the comment, like, printing out a sheet with the seedings, and, who's playing who, whatever, the bracket, and, but I might have to print that out before every team's in it, because I could just fill in a name, because, I think we're going to be in North Carolina. We won't be back, I think, when the playoffs start. I'll have to look in a minute. Let me see. Real quickly here, when the season ends, first things first. Usually the playoffs will start like maybe 2 days after the season ends. Something like that. I know the Islanders, I think most teams have 5 or 6 games left. Maybe 7 in some instances, or 4. It's a 5-team race, pretty much. You can even maybe say 7 teams if a lot of start shits goes south for most of the teams. But it's essentially a 5-team race for the final 2 spots. The 6 of the spots in the Eastern Conference are set. I don't know. I think in the Western Conference too. I think maybe 7 are set. Actually, I don't know. It's been crazy, and it's funny too, because I was saying that the Islanders are essentially the same exact team as they were last year in terms of how they have to play till the end of the season. Hopefully, get in. I think they had 92 or 93 points last year, and they got in. They were the first wild card team. I think it was 4-4 last year. Because they'll do 5-3 in the divisions. If the 5th team is better in the one division, they'll get the nod over the 4th team in the other one. But I'm trying to see it when the season ends. Let's take a peek at the scheduling. See when the regular season ends. So Maple Leafs playing the Penguins. I want the Maple Leafs to win that game tonight, because the Penguins are right there. They're playing good. This is another thing. Obviously, Crosby was a generational talent, right? And he's getting old. What is he, like 38 or something? I was trying to figure out the dude's age, but okay, maybe shit. It ends on the 18th this season. Apparently, the 18th is the last. So the playoffs realistically would probably start on the 20th or the 21st. That's Thursday. The 18th is the last day of the season. That's gonna be tight. Well, I think we're coming back on the Friday the 19th. So I literally would have to do that. Yeah, I guess I could do it then. I could wait and do it on the Friday or the Saturday, even get it up early, the video up early on Saturday before it starts. And then I could just print it out normally, and all the teams will be set, and I could kind of, go by each matchup or something like that. I don't know if the NBA season ends later. The NBA is the same point. I think there's like 5 games left. Interesting drink. Not feeling it though. Let me look at the NBA real quick, because if that ends on the 18th, the playoffs shouldn't start on the 19th. It shouldn't start on the 19th. Of course, they don't have it set to what the date would be. You know what? Whatever. If it's a game into the playoffs, because not every team would have played at that point, so even on the 19th or the 20th, if maybe a playoff game has been played, whatever, I'll still do the preview. I'm not going to, one game in for a couple of series is not that big a deal. I do want to check NBA, though, and see when they... think the men's, I'm filming this on Monday. The men's March Madness is tonight. The South Carolina beat Iowa in the women's. And they were perfect. They had a perfect season. South Carolina's 38-0 or something, which is pretty crazy. I feel like Connecticut did that a few times too. Back, when they were winning like 3 in a row, didn't they go on an insane run? What is it, Oriana? I don't know how long he's been that coach. Is that Gino Oriana? Is that how you say his name? I don't know. Calhoun was the men's basketball coach in UConn for a while, right? I know he isn't now. But he's got, how many titles did that dude have? Like 10, 11? Pat Summitt was another one with Tennessee. She had won like 7 or 8. And now Dawn Staley's the coach of South Carolina. She has 3. Mulkey has at least 3, right? All right, let's take a look at... I see their season ends the 14th. So if I want to do the similar thing with basketball, I'd have to print it up beforehand. Oh, basketball's annoying, though, actually. I might not do that, because I forgot they do this with the freaking play-in. So it's like the little bullshit for the 9 and 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, do that play-in shit. So maybe I might still do that when I get back, because I would assume the play-in would end maybe about the 18th or the 17th, and the official playoffs probably start that weekend of the 20th. I think they might be set, though. The West is set in terms of the teams, including the play-in teams. I'm pretty sure that will make it in, because Houston just got eliminated from the playoff contention. So you have New Orleans, Sacramento, Lakers, and Golden State are the 4 teams that would play in that tournament, the play-in tournament. Oh, no, well, they're both actually set. The East is 2. It looks like the East is set as well. Man, the East has 2. The 9 and 10 in the East, Chicago and Atlanta are both under 500. The West, they're all over 500, actually. And Houston's only 2 games under. They could still end up over 500. It's weird. You got some decent top-heavy teams, and then the fucking, like, Portland, 21 wins, San Antonio, 19. Detroit and Washington, 13, 15 wins. There's a lot of bad teams in the league this year. Boston ran away with the fucking East. They got 62 wins. Milwaukee's in second in the conference with 47 wins. I mean, they're just going to probably pop 50 wins. Milwaukee. It's Boston. You could say it's Boston's to lose, but that doesn't mean anything, right? They'll end up losing in the first round. Because they're going to probably end up with a tough matchup. If I had to say and look at the teams with the play-in, I still think it stays the 8. I think Philly and Miami are the 7 and 8 right now. I think it stays that way. I'm pretty sure the play-in goes where Philly will play Miami, and then whoever wins that game's in. So in reality, I think it goes 7 of the teams are set. Like, the only team that can get screwed is the final 8 spot. Could end up losing that spot to the 9th or 10. One of those 2 teams, one of them will get in. 7 of the 8 that would have normally gotten in back in the day will still get in, but one might lose a position. Well, we actually gain one if the 8 beats the 7, and then whoever would have been in 8th could end up dropping if they lose to the 9 or the 10, because the 9 and 10 play each other, and then they give the loser of the 7-8 seed game a second chance to get in. So it favors those two. I don't understand why they added that. Like, what does that do? It's like the in-season tournament this year. I didn't even get it. I'm like, what was the point of this? Like, I just didn't get it. I was like, what are they doing? Like another useless thing that doesn't matter. They were probably like, oh great, I hope LeBron gets it so we can give him another trophy type thing. Like, what were they doing? I didn't understand the point. You might see Golden State and the Lakers have to play that first play-in game as the 9-10. The West is deep. Really, the West, honestly, could, like, looking at the standing, this is just a sports ramble now, but looking at the West, I mean, the Golden State's in the 10 seed right now, and they're 43 and 35, so they have 4 games left. They get up 47. Lakers might move to an 8. They're half game behind Sacramento. New Orleans is essentially locked in. They could actually move to 6 because Phoenix is right there in the 6th seed with 46 and 32. New Orleans 46 and 32. The East is a little more top heavy with Boston. I guess just Boston. Actually, you know what's funny? Boston is leaps and bounds better. I mean, even in the West, they have an 8-game lead on the top 2 teams, Minnesota and Denver in the West. So they really clear-cut number 1 in the league. Doesn't mean anything in the playoffs, but Milwaukee has struggled. And they fired their coach, and they still struggle. They've lost 4 in a row. They fired their coach, and they're ripping it up. Who'd they get? Doc River. Oh, here comes Doc River. And they promptly, shit the bed. They just happen to be in the 2nd seed. But they're not going to win it, I don't think. Orlando's in the 3. Good for them. Orlando is in the 3 seed. Jesus, Boston averages 120 points a game. Indiana averages 122 points a game. And I understand it's a different league. People are bombing threes at the highest rate ever, and they have been for a while. So you have to look at defensive metrics a little different than you did back in the day. So it's like, oh yeah, a team gives up 104 points. It doesn't mean they suck defensively. It's just teams score more because they're fucking, almost every team has a couple of lethal 3-point shooters. Who is the best offensive points per game? Oh no, that's our opponents, duh. Who's the worst? Portland's got to give up 100 and something. Indiana defensively kind of sucks too. Where's Portland? Portland gives up 115-6. Portland only scores 106, which is fucking low. They only give up 115, which is not in the bottom 5. Let's see who averages the most. Indiana at $122. That's a fucking shit ton. They give up 120. Best difference in the league is Boston at 11.6. What's Portland's minus? They got to be the worst. No, they're 8.7. They're the second worst. Third worst, actually. Washington, oddly enough, is in the second half of the points for, but their defense is terrible. It's different, man. That's why people are like, I'm not. Listen, I think when you grow with the times you grow up in, when you're I was really into basketball in the 90s. I first got into it when I was in 7th grade. And up until the mid 2000s, I was still heavily invested in Portland and shit. So the league was already starting to change a little bit, not to where it did. The change came after the rise of the Warriors, but right after the second San Antonio Heat finals is when the league kind of took its turn to what it is now. But people always favor the times. It was better when I grew, whatever. I try not to look at it that way, because that's how leagues change. They evolve, they'll be like, well, Jordan sucked at shooting 3. If 3 was a big deal back in the 90s, players would have, if it just was the thing, players would have practiced threes more and become better at it. There was good 3-point shooters back then. Bird, guys like Terry Porter, Craig Hodges, Reggie Miller, Sabonis was actually a pretty good 3-point shooter for a fucking big man. That guy, man, I think back to it because I was a Portland fan, obviously, and I was a huge fan of Sabonis when he came over in I think his first year was in, was it 94, 95 was his first, or maybe it was even 95, 96. But he was drafted by them in 87, but it was still Soviet Union at the time. And he was over there until he was in his, I think he came into the league when he was 31 or 32. But he was drafted in 86, 87. If he had come over to Portland, even in 89, 90, throw him in with Drexler and Porter. If you just swap him in for Duckworth, oh my God, they probably honestly win a couple of titles. I mean, they went to 2, but they probably would have beaten the Bulls. I mean, he was incredible when he put, in terms of creativity. And I know Rod Strickland, when he was on Portland, he was Sabonis. Great passer, could hit a 3. he still struggled with guys like Shaq because, I mean, he was pretty much as big as Shaq, but he couldn't move at the same speed as Shaq anymore. So Shaq was more, you know, he's bigger to begin with, but, you know, I mean, he was also bulldozing everybody at that point, Shaq. He didn't, like, you know, dunk in his face like he did that time with Dudley. Just, like, Dudley flipped out, threw the ball. That's how it was back then. I remember, like, Sean Kemp dunking on, I think it was Chris Gatling. It's a well-known dunk, and just pointing at him and shit. It just, guys did it differently. And Gatling didn't even, like, get pissed. I think at some point later in the game, they kind of were talking. He's like, hey, man, that dude was you hate to use the word, and Dominique was the same way. Like, him and Kemp, like, violently dunked. Like, and some of the stuff Kemp was doing in-game was nuts. If you see his highlights on YouTube in terms of in-game dunks, holy shit, man. Like, he would do some pretty impressive shit in the lane, when the lane was, like, clogged with dudes. He'd be, like, doing freaking coming in dunk, you know, jumping from halfway inside the free throw line, and just, he was awesome. He's my favorite. Him and Drexler was my favorite, and he was my second favorite. He did come to Portland much later in his career when he had the drug issues and he ballooned in weight. But he and Dominique Wilkins too. They would dunk, and you were just like, it was almost like they were just like, they would come in and it would be like, it had to be tough to block those guys because they were coming with serious force. And Dominique arguably is the best. Him and Kemp were probably, I mean, Jordan was a good dunker, but Dominique Drexler was a good dunker too. But I think a lot of the guys can do a lot of those dunks now because, like I said, the game evolves and stuff. But you know, back in the day, some of those guys were ahead of their time, like a Kemp and stuff like that. Especially, like I said, just look up Kemp's highlight reels, dunk reels. Drexler did a lot of good stuff too, but Drexler was more of a smooth. A lot of people said his game was very smooth and stuff, and he was the glide for a reason. Like, if you look at some of his stuff, he almost is gliding through the air. I'm trying to think who else slammed with authority. It sounds perverted. Kem and Dominique were always the two that I remember as just being like, they would come in and you were just like, dude, if you don't block, these guys are going to break your hand on top of dunking on you. Rim shakers, rim rattlers, you call it. I mean, Shaq, you can say too, but Shaq had the size. Not to say, I mean, Kemp was pretty big too, and taller. I mean, Dominique, what was Dominique? Maybe like 6'7". He was super tall too, actually, for 6'7", 6'8", but he wasn't like, you know, like, he was, obviously these guys were in great shape, but he wasn't like a huge build. But anyway, I can go on and on with this crap, but I'll stop it here. This is just a drink review of this Celsius Sparkling Green Apple Cherry. I'm going to give this a 4.5. Just wasn't a big fan. It just didn't... It tasted like almost like a rotten apple or a diet green apple, and it wasn't as sweet as I thought. And rambling about mostly sports and Gamecube mic sounds. But yeah, thanks for checking this out, and have a good day.